soul mirror where the divine meets the human and truth finally breathes. Today, we are joined by Jennifer Pilates, a globally celebrated intuitive spiritual mentor and host of the top rated Empowered Within podcast. From Pilates to soul purpose, Jennifer's path has been one of profounding healing, embodiment, and awakening. She is not just here to inspire, she is here to guide us back home, to the body, to the soul, and to the truth that alignment isn't something we find, it's something we remember. So, welcome, Jennifer. I'm honored to have you on my show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be with you today.
And, Jennifer, your journey began with Pilates. But what deeper truth did that physical practice unlock for you?
That's an excellent question. And it's so profound because it was through the traumatic car accident that I was in that I found Pilates through rehabilitation. And through that rehabilitation, I learned through various holistic practices that I had truly never lived in my body. And I didn't quite understand what that meant at that moment in time. And I remember the one specific doctor who said that to me. And when I look back, I know that he knew it was not the time for me to dive in fully into what that meant. He was just there to help me be aware and plant that seed. And so, what my therapy through Pilates and now 2 decades later of Pilates has brought to me, it really awakened me into my body to understanding what alignment is, body, mind, and spirit, to understand what and how important breath work is, body mind connection, and truly ignited my spiritual practice and my gifts. I had these gifts. I knew I had things, but there was nothing concrete, nothing solid about it. And Pilates really highlighted my healing abilities, highlighted my intuitive gifts. So I call it the gateway. And to this day, I feel Pilates is the gateway for clients to feel comfortable coming to me to then opening up into whether it's a coaching session or whether that's an intuitive medium session, it becomes so much more. So, God gave, I like to call it a practical way for people who maybe aren't comfortable with spiritualness or spiritual gifts. And so they can see how, in some ways, I don't know what normal is, but how normal I am and how safe one can be with me, then they're more open to diving deeper into their own lives.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing so much with us. And when did you first sense that your healing was also meant to guide others?
It was definitely during my years when I first started in my Pilates practice. I had a studio on Cape Cod. And it was during that time that my spiritual practice really began to lead front and center. Clients would come in pain, they would leave feeling wonderful, and I would have their pain. So they would come in with shoulder pain, they would leave with no shoulder pain, and then suddenly I had a shoulder pain, right? So there were all of these things that at that point in time I was figuring out. And that's when the energy healing really was highlighted for me. And then it wasn't really until later when I really began to dive into lots of different modalities of energy healing and particularly Reiki healing to understand it. Because as much as I love unicorns and I love to fly with the stars, I still like to have that groundedness and understanding about something. And I feel that that's a lot of people want that too. So Reiki gives you that. And so through the years, I've always had that aspect of when people come, whether that's for a Pilates session or a Reiki session, or whether that's a coaching session, you are receiving Reiki healing from me through this podcast now. It will come through my voice for people, even for you today, through our interview. And so fast forward, I was guided most recently in the last, I think, 6 months here to offer twice a month on the full moon and the new moon Reiki distant healing sessions for people so that they could experience it anywhere in the world. There's no Zoom, there's no tech. All they have to do is sign up and find a quiet spot to receive on the date, the new moon and the full moon. And they can find that over on my website at jenniferpilates.com. And I've made it very reasonable because this is something that I want everyone to be able to experience in the comfort of their own home where they feel safe and where they feel secure.
Yes, it's so beautiful how the body can sometimes be the doorway into our soul calling.
Absolutely.
And also, you talk about soul alignment. So, what does that look like in someone's everyday life, and how can we tell that when we are out of it?
Certainly. And this is such a hot topic right now because, and especially this past week, the energies have been very chaotic around the world. And it has felt like things have sped up. And truly, just last week, the earth did speed up, truly. And so people were feeling out of sorts. And if you're a highly sensitive person or if you're an empath, you would have felt that 3 times as much as the regular person who's just walking around going, oh, today flew by. And you're like, no, no, really? What happened? And that is a perfectly good, example of something feels off. And I always tell people, you're going about your day and you've got a smile on your face, and then you walk into a room somewhere, and all of a sudden, whoa, something feels off. Ooh, I don't feel so good all of a sudden. Something's out of alignment. And so, quick practices that you can do when something like that happens is you can, one, if you remove yourself from that situation. So remove yourself from the room, get up from the table, shift, run, go to the bathroom, go somewhere where you can wash your hands. That's a cleansing act. Your hands are portals of energy. So that's going to help cleanse. That can help realign you. And then you'll be very clear when you return, if you have to return to that environment, was that my energy? Or was that around me? And now you know, okay, either I need to set up a better practice with my energy to protect my energy right now, or I really need to cleanse and clear. So those are some things. Other things that you can do when you feel off. I love to swim. And of course, it depends on the season, but swimming is wonderful. Walking is also so important if you can get out into nature any time of year. That is when you are most open. That's when you're very vulnerable, and downloads and messages can come through to you. And it really helps to just release when you're in nature, when you're walking, even when you're in the city, it can happen. Put your earplugs in, listen to some Reiki music, and that can really help shift you. Journaling can help shift you. There's all these little things, but the key is to know if all of a sudden you're having a decent day and suddenly you feel angst, then you know that something has flipped and we're out of alignment. So, what can we do to flip that back in? And so, I always say that's when you begin to start your toolbox, your spiritual toolbox of what tool do I need today? And that's a toolbox that you want to take with you through your life. And that toolbox will often change. You'll add things, you'll subtract things when you don't need them anymore. But there's all these little basic practices. I don't want anyone to think that they have to stand on their head and burn sage all day and all that. You don't have to. Burning sage is great. I love it. But it really comes down to the basic foundations of grounding within yourself.
Yes, that's so beautiful that you have said. And also, is misalignment always loud, or can it hide under success and productivity?
100%. I love that you asked this. It absolutely can hide under success. And so misalignment can be stress, fatigue. There's such a thing as anxiety success. Some people want success so badly they sabotage it because what if then I'm successful? What next? So, definitely, doom scrolling is a big thing. Being on your phone before bed, eating and not being aware that you just ate a bag of chips. There's all sorts of things that are there hidden. You're out shopping, you find yourself shopping, retail therapy, you would call, some would call that. But that's also can fill a void. Addictions, whether that be drugs or alcohol, food, shopping, all of that can and has, particularly if you're a highly sensitive person, if you're an empath, you're an old soul, these are all things that can play out in your life. And it's important to be aware of them. I would say that step one is to really be aware of it. Not being good with finances. It's all part of being that old soul, why you're here. And a lot of this plays out for old souls, for intuitive empaths and highly sensitive people, the first half of their lives, very much so. And it's the second half of your lives where you really get it together. and you're in alignment. And then that's when the universe shows up and says, okay, now it's your time. Now you're really stepping into whom you are and why you are here and whom you're to serve.
Yes, that hits so hard that so many of us just chase goals while ignoring that quiet inner nudge. And
Mhm.
as an intuitive medium, how do you balance being a channel for others with staying grounded in your own energy and truth?
Yeah, again, another great question. It's super important for me. I take my intuitive work very seriously. And so before a session, whenever I'm with someone, you know, if we were having a session, even before this interview, I'm already receiving messages and connecting with you energetically. So that always happens prior. So I do ground myself and I have journaling practices. I have breath work practices. For instance, first thing in the morning, I have a breath work and gratitude and grounding practice just every day. And then whether it's before a podcast or before an intuitive session, I will take moments to have my own personal Reiki session to ground myself. Sometimes I'm outside, sometimes I'm in, sometimes that includes crystals and incense, and sometimes that's journaling. A lot of times, and the beauty of it is when you get to a certain point in life and you really lean into your superpower, your empowered within self, your gifts, you listen to what the universe says. So before every reading, it's very different how I'm called to ground and what I'm called to do based on whom I'm about to interact with. So it's quite a special situation for me. But generally, yes, always Reiki is so important. Energetic healing, journaling is important for me. Really taking time to be with myself. And I love being in nature, like I mentioned. I love getting into swimming or walking every day. That really helps me as an empath to connect back to my soul and refresh myself. So just as I have a practice pre any session or podcast, the same thing goes for afterwards. And the other thing that I'd like to point out that I find is very, very important is some people will, they'll book themselves crazy or they'll listen to gurus who say you should be up at 4 a.m. and you should be blocking your time and doing all of these things. And well, some of that works for some people. I have found with the clients that I work for, let's be real, if you're listening to this podcast, it's probably you, that doesn't work for you. I personally cannot do podcast after podcast after podcast because it's such an energetic exchange for me. 2 in a day is a big deal for me, but that's how I am. And the same thing goes for readings. I would never book 5 or 6 readings in a day. That's like a week's worth of work for an energetic person. So there becomes this difference, this separation of releasing and reprogramming everything that you were taught to do, literally everything, to leaning into whom you are in your divine existence. And when you're in flow with yourself, then the universe, God and your angels, they take care of your abundance and they take care of you. And I really want people to know that because I know so many get caught up in the hustle and what they're supposed to do and what they should do. But I say, what feels right from that's all head stuff. That's all what people are telling you. But what does your heart say and what feels right? And that's where I want people to lead from.
Yes. And I think that's something a lot of healers and empaths will relate to also. And you have also worked with high profile clients and spiritual seekers alike. So, what is one pattern you see no matter who the person is?
One of the biggest, oh, it kind of brings brings tears to my eyes. It's a lack of self-love. It's a lack of not feeling worthy of whatever the thing is. And 9 times out of 10, it all goes back to a trauma, a situation that transpired when a person was much younger. And it goes back to a belief, which is a limiting belief, which has been programmed not in the mind, but in the subconscious. And so when I'm working with clients, I always say we get to the root cause. And I always say I have this, we call it, my clients are now calling it this empowered hour, this empowered within hour. And one client said, it's like we're 10 years of therapy in one session. We clear out everything that's blocking to allow everything to come in and all the clarity and all the things that you're wanting to do and how that can play out for you. And so we do that through getting to the root cause, which is in the subconscious. Because you can say all day long, I'm a multimillionaire, but I can promise you, your mind does not believe and your self worth is not there yet. So we have to kind of bypass all that, get to the root cause, shift it, and allow your wings to open so that you can fly and that you can feel that empoweredness within. And that's what I do with clients during those empowered hours sessions, that we really clear everything out and bring you to a place. I'm there as your guide. I'm there as your spiritual guide, as your mentor, to help you see what's always been within you, because that's what's most important.
Yes, that is wonderful. And also, what is the first shift they often need to make to come back to center?
It's getting very honest with themselves that A, B, and C isn't working. That anger that they're feeling, as an example, you're not really angry at that other person. You're angry at yourself for possibly allowing that person to have treated you the way that they've been treating you. Or you're angry within yourself because you don't understand why you're making $100,000, but then the $100,000 immediately goes away. So again, everything comes back to you and yourself. And that's why it's so important to have a mentor, to have a guide who can say, look, I've been there, I've done it. Can I please save you 2 decades? Can I save you 2 decades and allow you to fly now, allow you to embrace your life, allow you to feel what it feels like to have true self love and self worth so that you can now truly not only attract everything that you're desiring in, but also allow it to ground and align with you so that it stays.
Yeah, it's so humbling to hear that even the most successful among us still wrestle with this connection. And for someone who is listening, who feels scattered mentally, physically, spiritually, what is one small step they can take to begin realignment?
Well, the one step I would say is please reach out. Please reach out to me. Go to my website, send me a question, send me a message. Consider a complimentary session so that I can help guide you. Where do you best need to start? Because everyone needs to start somewhere different. And it may just be one empowered hour that literally, which generally changes everyone's lives so that you finally have the clarity. So that would definitely be one of the things I would suggest. And you can reach me again over at jenniferpilates.com. The other thing is I would say is to get really honest with yourself. If you're a fan of journaling, and by journaling, I mean pen and paper, that's how you best connect with the universe. On a computer or a tablet, I don't care what anyone says, it's not as strong of a connection. So, pen and paper, one page, everything that I am grateful for, everything that I am happy about, I want you to write all that down. And then on the next page, I want you to write everything that you're not liking, that you're disliking, whatever is going on in your life. And then go back and reread everything that you're happy about and grateful about. That will immediately raise your vibration. When you're in that higher vibration, that's when shifts happen and you feel it. You feel elated. You know what that feels like. For some, it could honestly be getting into a bath with real rose petals, because why would you ever treat yourself to that? You don't have time for that. Well, if you don't have time for that you're saying you don't have time for yourself, which is saying that you're not worthy of a 20-minute bath. And if you think you're not worthy of a 20-minute bath, I want you to take an hour bath because you need it, right? But little things like that, journaling like that. Then afterwards, take it all up, rip it up, flush it down the toilet, burn it in a safe place in a sink where you can, put the water on. Little practices like that can really help you. There's a script that you can do when you're journaling. I like to start and say, What message do I need to have today? And I just start writing. And eventually, all of a sudden, there's all of these downloads and insights that transpire. I do the same thing with music. I like to do it when I'm out walking or I'm in my car. The first thing I do when I get in my car is I'm like, okay, what do I need to know? And the song comes on the radio, and I'm like, "Ah, fascinating." You can receive messages in the most basic of ways. The key is asking. Your guides are there's so many guides around. There's so many guides there. You should see the people that are around you today right now. I mean, you've got like 5 people all just floating around you. It gives me such goosebumps that there you have to ask. They cannot just intervene in your life. And so the key is asking. The key is knowing that you are absolutely never alone. You always have your spirit team around you. You always have your guides. People and animals and angels are around you. And so the key is to ask. But journaling is so amazing. Walking, asking, being open, simply stating, I don't know what to do. God, angels, I'm handing this over to you. And then really walk away from it.
Yes.
That is huge. That is when miracles happen because you've now let go of the who, when, where, what, how, all of the energy control. The more you hold on to something tighter, I always say it's like squeezing the air out of a bird. You've got to let it go because 9 times out of 10, whatever the situation is that you are troubled by is not going to work out the way or how you think. There's always a better way.
Yes.
There's always a better way, and one of the things I always like to share with my clients, and I'll share here, is say this, "It's this or something better." And now sometimes you're gonna say that, "Oh, it's this or something better," and some days you're gonna say, "It's this or something better," and that's okay. The key is to keep saying it and saying it and saying it. Your energy is going to shift. That right there is calling in the divine around you and saying, it's this or something better. And I can promise you, you were always brought out of a situation stronger, better, better place, better mindset, and a better environment. You may have a pit stop along the way, you may have a reroute, but you are always brought out in so many more magical ways than you ever thought.
Yes.
And that's the key. What we're thinking too small. We're thinking too small. And so the key is just to try to release and lean in. And just as you work out at the gym and work your muscles, that is a muscle. That is a practice that
Mm.
you work with. So it takes time, but take that time to do that.
Yes. That's so powerful that you have said. And this is a wonderful conversation with you. And if after this my listeners want to connect with you, then what's the best way?
The best way is heading over to my website, jenniferpilates.com. Be sure that you sign up for my newsletter. That is where all of the hidden gems, everything, I spend more time there nurturing my community there. And then also stopping over and listening to the podcast Empowered Within, subscribing, rating, listening. Those are my 2 modalities where I spend the most time. And as well on YouTube, which is also Empowered Within with Jennifer Pilates. So that's where you'll find me.
Yes, and I will make sure to attach all the details and links below so that the listeners can find them easily and get in touch with you and listen more from you because you are a wonderful person. And thank you for sharing all the knowledge, all the experience, all the stories with us. And for my listeners, Jennifer Pilates doesn't help us heal, she really helps us to listen to the wisdom of the body, to the whisper of the soul, and to the truth that we already have what we are searching for. So if your life have ever feels loud right now, take a breath, quiet down, and feel into the alignment that's already waiting within you. Until next time, keep walking gently towards your inner knowing and keep reflecting and keep rising. Thanks.